Greetings my friends and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the Gravitas acrylic vacuum filler from Gravitas pens. The pen arrives in this little pouch and protected by a little plastic. Immediately we're greeted by a very nice looking Demonstrator pen. I opted to go with the clear acrylic one as opposed to the Ultim Vac because that one is kind of like champagne yellowish umber color, kind of like the 9016. I like this, but not as much as the clear Demonstrator. I decided to go with a Ultraflex titanium nib, which they offer. So let's just have a quick walk through this pen. Let's starting with the cap. The cap takes 2 full turns to secure and 2 full turns to uncap. The cap is made of acrylic plastic. It is very light. It does not have any cap liner. It has this area where the plastic becomes thicker. Presumably that's to seal the nib so that the pen does not dry out easily. And the one eyesore that I see in this entire cap is these threads. They're plastic and they're it seems like they might be roughly done. They're very opaque and there's no polishing. I don't know what could have been done to make this better, but it's kind of unsightly. The nib, like I mentioned, is a titanium number 6 nib. It seems like it's a standard Yovo number 6 nib unit and is easily unscrewable. Comes off. It has an O-ring here and it has a rubber disc here. The rubber disc sits against the second reservoir and prevents the ink from flowing into the rest of the nib section and making it ugly. In the grip section we see that the threads are there for the nib and we see evidence of the second ink reservoir. This reservoir takes around 0.75 milliliters of ink, which is very good. It's at least the amount of one cartridge, one standard international cartridge, if I'm not mistaken. This also unscrews very easily for cleaning. This pen has been very easy to clean. And if we remove this, you'll see that this is basically the second reservoir from here to here. And when you shut the valve off, it basically blocks here, and the ink that you have here is what you get. So if you were to go on an airplane, you can unscrew this and put the ink back in the barrel and tighten back the shut-off valve so that you don't get ink burping. That's a very nice touch. So comparing this to the Kyuseido pen, which is also a Gravitas pen, of course, and I recently reviewed, the main difference that we see in the grip section is that they're kind of like the opposite of each other. You see that in the Kyuseido pen, plastic is threaded onto titanium. In the Gravitas pen, it is again plastic on titanium, but the roles are reversed. Now the whole grip section is plastic as opposed to titanium on the Kyuseido pen. I don't know which one is better. I prefer the plastic holding, to be honest, but I've never had trouble with holding this pen. It's not polished, so it's not sleek where it would slip out of the hand. It has done a very good job. So either way, these are well designed and thought out. The one thing I'm worried about is the durability of this plastic on metal. I don't know. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you do have one of these Kyuseido pens, the grip section can be transplanted into the Gravitas pen. The Gravitas pen does have a secondary reservoir, but it's not. The Kyuseido pen does have a secondary reservoir, but it's not as easily apparent. You cannot see it, of course, because it is titanium. So this is titanium over titanium. I don't know. Cool look. What do you think? I think they should have done this, but unfortunately it would have increased the price significantly. Once you put the Kyuseido section in, you would be able to cap it, of course, because the threadings are from the Gravitas pen. So this, I think it looks a little bit better than just the plastic here, but you tell me what you think. However, the Gravitas section is not interchangeable. It does not fit the Kyuseido pen, so you cannot just do a swap and expect that both pens will be functional. So putting this back together is very easy. They recommend a little bit of silicone grease, but I've siliconed this before, so, and there is still some residual silicone, which is good. We'll put the nib section back on. Overall, I would say aesthetically the pen is very pleasant. This titanium gives it a little bit of accent, and it's pretty. And there's also a titanium piece at the tail end. That also does presumably decrease the stress of plastic on plastic would cause, and would decrease the risk of fracture of the acrylic. Time will tell us. I cannot guarantee that. We'll see. The barrel is made of very nicely, clearly polished acrylic, and the shut-off valve can be seen in action. The tail of the pen tapers down slightly more than the Kyuseido pen. To me, this a little bit. The Kyuseido pen is a little bit nicer. It tapers less, so it to me it looks a little bit more beautiful. However, I think the reason they have done this is that this pen is made to post very securely and nicely. For those people that post their pens, this pen would be a dream. It posts very deeply, and it's nice. I feel like it might scratch the pen. However, the scratching that would occur, I think, would be around this area, and it's hard to see on the threading. So very easy, like you see, to assemble and disassemble. This part, the vac system, can be also disassembled very easily. They do not include the wrench with it, but he who does not have a TWSBI in their house, that should be a Grail pen if you don't have it. So same way, basically counterclockwise. Easily unscrew and open and take it out. Nice rubber piece, a little loose to provide some give. The shut off button. This could be stainless steel, I'm not sure. And there are two O-rings here, presumably to prevent the release of the vacuum, which will make the vacuum system ineffective. So we put this back in the same way, clockwise. Why don't we compare it to some of the other available demonstrator fountain pens? The Gravitas Vac filler is around 180 plus tax is around like 210 with the delivery and everything. The Kyuseido Kakari goes for 620 before shipping, so that's a lot more expensive. This is the Pilot 823 Demonstrator, around similar size, also a vac filler. And then we have the Jinhao 9016, which is champagne color. Is that champagne? Demonstrator. And beside that we have a couple of heavy hitters. The Gravitas is running away. Relax. Pelican M805 Demonstrator. The Pelican M1005 Demonstrator. We see that these are larger pens, but the Gravitas still holds its own, even against the M1005 Demonstrator. The only ink that should be put in any pen on a St. Patrick's Day is Mont Blanc Irish Green, and we're going to do that. I got about maybe half the barrel worth of ink, which is good. We can repeat that maybe once and get more ink. So once we fill the ink, once we do that, we have to let the reservoir here fill with ink. One flick downwards, and as the reservoir fills, I will shut off this valve. So there we go, inked up, ready to rock. The polymer feed seems to have an excellent ink flow. It never really railroads. Always good to go. And the nib is generally very well behaved. If I overlook the fact that it's missing some tipping on the right tine, the back of the right tine, and the side of the right tine is a lot more narrow than the left, so the nib is overall poorly done in terms of workmanship. Nonetheless, it works, but once you see imperfections and the poor workmanship on the nib, it's really not easy to unsee those, and you would want this corrected. Otherwise, the nib is serviceable. It writes very well, it's bouncy, and the feed is perfectly tailor-made for this nib. It seems like it is not hard started or railroaded on me even when I flex it. And you see this, I am actually pushing this. I'm not, so I'd be a little bit more hesitant to push this to its limits, but we can do a comparison between this and the Magna Carta Mag 600, which is filled with Mont Blanc marine blue ink, and see what kind of lines the Magna Carta can get. So let's see the Magna Carta. A lot softer. Magna Carta is just like a feather compared to the Gravitas, but you can see that the Gravitas rivals this pretty well. And this Magna Carta nib is actually broken in. It is the best that it would perform. So a little bit softer, easier to flex. Maybe a little bit thicker lines if you push it really hard, but not many people will do that. I feel comfortable doing this because I have two of them. And I actually trust the 14K nib a little bit more, and I have not enough experience with the titanium. So you see that the Gravitas easily rivals the Mag 600 in terms of line variation. Would it be able to keep that kind of rivalry over the lifespan of the nib? Nobody knows. The one thing I must notice is that the thinnest lines that these pens can get is a little bit different. The Mag 600, I feel like, can get thinner lines, and the titanium nib cannot achieve as thin. It again may have to do with the way the tipping is shaped and the way the poor workmanship on the nib. So this nib may be able to actually achieve that thinner lines if it is appropriately tuned by the right person. Overall, very, very nice and bouncy, and I'm not dissatisfied with the titanium nib overall. but I'm dissatisfied, like I mentioned, with the workmanship. I'm hoping to get a replacement nib that behaves the same, maybe a little bit smoother than this. It has a little bit of feedback, more than I'm used to, and it's not the pleasant type of pencil-like feedback, but it's also not scratchy. It's hard to describe. It's just so those are the writing samples, and of course, if you want to do a wetness test, there are no questions about the wetness on this nib. The polymer feed keeps up very well and does a very, very good job, and I'm not dissatisfied with it. Finally, I've made a list of pros and cons to help us decide whether or not it's a good idea to get this pen. Let's dive right into this. So in the pros column, I have it that is generally excellent design. It's a very nice demonstrator, and it's demonstrator almost to the max, except for this grip section. Many of the demonstrator pens that we see have the cap opaque or different color, or they have the piston covered, or they have the whole nib section covered. Not this one. That's a good demonstrator, beautiful design, a big plus in my book. The next plus is that it's only $180, and if you know Gravitas pens, generally they're the more expensive side. Some of the premium Gravitas pens with gold nibs can go for much more expensive, so it generally makes it a good value. Next pro in my list is that it has various nib options. This pen comes and with 14 karat nibs, if you would like, albeit a lot more expensive. It comes also in stainless steel, which is around the same price point. And if you see some of the Gravitas reviews, people that have used the stainless steel nib are very, very satisfied with the nib. I've not used the Gravitas stainless steel nib, so I cannot speak to that, but do take a look. It seems like Gravitas stainless steel nibs are very well designed, polished, and tuned. For me though, the titanium is what I initially tried and what I liked, and writing with titanium nib is actually quite a bit of a joy, especially if you have a heavier hand. I noticed that it writes very well when you emphasize and put pressure. It gives you extra amount of ink, and if you like, it also gives you line variation. So I'm quite satisfied and happy with that, and that's in my pros column. And the vacuum filler system is pretty good. It holds about 2.5 milliliter of ink. It is very nicely tucked in to give you a good demonstrator view, so it rivals the Pilot A23, except that this one has the secondary reservoir. It gives you a lot more ink there. Next pro in my list is it's a number 6 Yovo carrier. So if you have a nib that you really like, and many nibs are made with number 6 Yovo housing, and you can buy flex nibs and so forth, this makes an excellent carrier. The weight distribution is my next pro. It feels very, very well made and very, very well distributed in hand, and I'm super satisfied with that. It seems like the titanium here puts the center of gravity a little bit lower, around where I would want it. It's not back heavy. You can post this. This cap is so light that it does not back weight the pen at all. It still gives you very good weight distribution. Look at that info. My God, amazing. And moving to the number 7, third-party sellers. We'll get to the cons, but don't expect any form of customer service from Gravitas pens, aside from them eventually shipping your order. Third-party sellers, these pens are sold now by, I believe, PenVenture, probably other websites too, but Emmy does a very good job at customer service. Whenever I had a problem with one of my Leonardo pens, he got to me the same day and helped me resolve the issue. So those are the list of my pros. And the cons: non-existing customer service. Do not expect customer service from Gravitas pens. Unfortunately, that's the case. They need to change this if they want to continue as Gravitas pens, because it's quite frustrating. I ordered this pen sometime in January. I don't even remember when I ordered it. Not only I got no indication that it was shipped or anything, I repeatedly messaged and I did not get any response. So do not expect a response to your email or Instagram post or Instagram messages from them. So that's number 1 con. it would deter me from getting this pen if it wasn't this amazingly made. And this is a pro and a con, so $180. At $180 you can get a used Pilot Custom 823. You can sometimes find a new Pilot Custom 823. So that's another con. Poor quality chip check on the nib. I expected a lot better quality check on this nib when I received it. The nib looks beautiful from distance. The feed looks very good. It's rough texture, nicely logoed, so I have no problem with that, but it's a little bit rough if you're used to smoother pens. And under the loop it looks terrible, very poorly made. They need Nibmeister to look at their nibs. These nibs need better quality check, so I'm not going to say more about that. Again, number 4, there's no customer service. Just to emphasize number 1 again, it's unfortunate that Gravitas pens, with all their beautiful pens, don't really have good customer service. I hope that they either outsource their business to more reputable customer service companies and sellers, or ramp up their customer service, because they will have a lot more customers and a lot more happy customers. The cap has a cheap feeling. So the cap on this one is the cheapest cap I've seen in the history of caps. It's just a piece of cheap plastic, very light, and it gives you the feeling of this could be like the Preppy has probably at least as good of a cap. So the point is that they need to do something with this, with a $200 pen. What I would recommend is that, this is the ugly part, the white cap threads. What I would do is cover that with a metal ring. I don't know, that would make it nicer. The Pilot does that. Now I realize why they do that. They do that to cover their cap threads so that you don't see it, the ugliness. So they can do that, and to be more premium, to avoid fractures here, they can extend that cap or make a ring here too. It will add to the cost, but it shouldn't add a lot, and it should improve significantly the aesthetics of the pen. It goes on here, so it could be an extension, like a chrome extension or a titanium kind of ring here, to make it look a lot better. And while we're at the cap, this cap needs a roll stop or a clip or something. I can add the Twisby clip here, but the Twisby clip is not made for this pen, and it will scratch it. That's number 5, and the last con in my list is durability issues. Again, plastic on titanium. I don't know how long this will last. Time will tell. This is a concern in my cons list, so take it for whatever it's worth. Time will show us a little more. So, who should buy this pen? I say you get this pen if he and she who has tried this pen. So if you tried it and you love it, use it. It's one thing to get a number 6 nib and put it on any pen, and it's a completely different thing to experience the number 6 nib on this pen, because of the weight distribution being so perfectly balanced. And the feeling that you get here cannot be described by any reviewer or pictures or videos. So you should try this before you buy it. And you will probably fall in love with this when you try it. There are very few pens that are so nicely balanced. The Kyuseido pen is actually a little bit heavier. It's heavier. It's also well balanced, but this pen has a magic of its trick, is that you can move this piston piece, which is a titanium metal piece, and you can bring that and park it anywhere here throughout the barrel to distribute your weight as you wish to. So that's very nice. The Kyuseido pen is unfortunately $600, $620. This pen, however, it's genius. The weight is already very perfectly balanced right here. So I imagine for my hands, I prefer usually bigger pens. This is not the biggest pen in my box, but I feel like this is super comfortable. So if you try, you must try this, and you'll probably fall in love with it and want it. So I'd say try it before you buy it. In number 2, if somebody needs a nice number 6 Yovo vehicle, if you need an awesomely built and designed distributed pen, and you need a number 6 nib unit, for example, you have a flex nib that you really like, you can get this pen. Although the titanium nib in here with some tuning, I imagine would rival that flex nib. And number 3, who should have this? Have those people who have other Grail pens already in their collection. Many people's Grail pens is the Pilot Custom 823. If that's in your list, I say don't go for the Gravitas because it's imperfect, right? The 823, in terms of writing experience, it is a perfect pen for most people. I have not had many people complain about 823. Every time I write with 823, I'm like, wow, do I need another pen? Especially with the medium and fine nibs. It's so amazing. And so if you have this in your Grail pen list, forget the Gravitas. That's what I would do. I would forget about it until I have this and I try it. It is a better workhorse pen. It has decades. It is a decade of track record. Whereas the Gravitas is relatively new in the grand scheme of things. So those are the people that I would recommend this to. And, you know, if you are adventurous, if you want to try this pen, you like it from distance, you're like, I want this. You know, some of us are like that. So you can get this. One thing I feel is that no one that gets this pen for the price they offer, around 180, no one really will regret it. Even in my case, the bumped nib here, I still write with it and it's quite enjoyable. It just needs help. The nibs need to be exchanged because of the eyesore that it has. Otherwise, it writes amazingly. I fully endorse this pen, to be honest. I love it, and I would definitely recommend for this group of people to try it out. And people that don't fit in this group, if they can afford it, I say go for it. I hope that you found this review entertaining and informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask at the bottom of this video. I generally answer my viewers' questions quite quickly, and I hope that you all have a great day. Thank you for watching and accompanying me through this video, and I hope you continue to write, inspire, and get inspired. Goodbye.